So before I start, I just wanted to thank Chris and Laura and Virginia and the guides and the sponsors and everyone that's making this possible. Big round of applause for JSConf. I feel really lucky because I've been to all the JSConf so far, and my liver hates me for it. But yeah, this event's amazing. All you people are rad. So I'm a mobile software developer, and I'm also a Canadian, and I'm a fan of hockey. And mobile dev is really tough. You got to deal with operating systems. You got to deal with all these different SDKs, and you got to deal with having a million devices. I think Rezig figured out that you need something like 4K in phones in order to be able to test every different device. So it's really tough. Like Tanner Glass from the Vancouver Canucks, who is so tough that 2 Bears have to take him on, not just one, if you'll notice. All right, so I work on the PhoneGap project, which is, who's heard of PhoneGap here? All right, I'm out. Thank you. It's not that easy. So PhoneGap does make things really easy. We abstract all the hardest parts of getting started with mobile, but one of the problems that we can't abstract is the actual automation of the SDKs and the tooling that we're dealing with. And so who here is familiar with the Unix tools philosophy? Probably not that IE guy, but I'm sure other people are. So I know it's too easy, right? It's like beating up an old man. There's no satisfaction in it. So Unix philosophies, well, it's worth checking out. The baseline of it is that we want to have really simple, small, well-defined tools. We want to treat text as the way in and out of our tools. We want to be pipeable. So there's a whole lot of written stuff on what Unix tools philosophy is all about. I'm not just going to read my slides. I think it's important, though, as software developers, that we all look at what tools are out there and what philosophies are out there for doing software development. One of the best quotes I heard about Unix is that it's the ultimate virus. It's just never gone away. Whether that's a compliment or an insult, I'll leave up to you. And this has to be contrasted too. If you get bought into the whole Unix tools philosophy, you'd be remiss not to read the other side of it. There's a book called The Unix Hater's Handbook, and it is hilarious. I recommend reading it. I won't get into what they say, but it's some of the best trolling you've ever read in your life. So back into my problem space, when I'm dealing with mobile development, we've got this whole handful of SDKs, IDEs, all these different tools. Some are good, some are bad, some are horrific, and some are on Windows. I live on a street called Cordova Street. I also worked on Cordova Street. We moved our office, and I'm out of unique names, so I created a new project on GitHub called Cordova, and it takes the Unix tools philosophy and brings it into the mobile space. Right now it only currently works on OS X. It likely works on Linux machines. Dave Johnson, our CTO at Nitobi, apparently ported it to Python. He's a masochist. Ported it to Windows, so that's cool. So what am I talking about when I'm talking about automation? When you're building any software at all, you need to follow these common steps. And this idea, this concept of writing software is platform independent. Just how it gets done isn't. So when we're building things, we want to be able to automate the creation of it. When I was going through some of this stuff, who here has worked with Xcode? All right, so you might understand how I feel about it. There is a command line tool for Xcode. It's called Xcode build. I was trying to get it to automate all build targets just so I didn't have to actually open up Xcode. And I was having problems with a particular file called a PBX project file. And I was bitching on Twitter. And a Mac dev had the audacity to send me a picture of Xcode with a green arrow pointing to the big green button. So when I talk about automation, I'm talking about the ability to repeat actions without human intervention. And so this whole computing thing that we're involved in, the reason for computers is we want them to do the hard work for us. We don't want to be making simple repeated tasks something that we do manually. It's error prone, it's likely to screw up, and well, that's why we have computers in the first place. So creating projects, building them, debugging them, testing them, releasing them, logging, and emulation, these are just some of the tasks that I'm concerned about across platforms. I just thought this picture was funny, so I threw it in. So why do we do this? We want to be iterating our code faster. We don't want to be walking between different IDEs, different build chains, have all this different ceremony. It's especially complex when you get into multiple developer teams that don't have a unified build chain. If one guy sets up his build chain different than the other guy, shit's going to go wrong. That's just how it works. And you want to hide all the proprietary build sludge. Your product is not someone else's framework. Your product is your product. And so all this other stuff that happens is not in your problem domain. Some people like IDEs, and I think that's cool. The IDEs do have advantages, and people that like to work in them, it doesn't really matter how you edit text, but you should automate all the things that you want. A lot of this stuff is just not quite right to me either. When we think about it objectively, an IDE doesn't protect you from bugs, because if it has bugs, then you're going to run into problems. And we've seen this in almost every IDE. I don't need to give you examples. These people say IDEs get you close to the platform. They get you so close that you can't use another platform. IDEs have step debugging, and I say you should write unit tests. Some people say, oh, unit tests, you don't need them, and those people are right. They don't need them. So I'm going to demo for you. Yeah, isn't that an awesome picture? Let's look at that again. No idea what the fuck's going on there. So this will be interesting. Where's my shell? Okay. Probably can't read that. All right, let's jump over to my desktop. Cool. Don't be scared. This isn't going to hurt. So I've got a tool. I called it PhoneGap. I don't know. Seemed obvious. It's not Ruby. So what just happened there? I just generated a project, and that project has a makefile. That makefile has a whole bunch of stuff built in for you right away. So let's take a look at this project structure. This is a point of debate at Nitobi. The only thing we all have in common is that everybody's wrong. Nobody really knows what a PhoneGap project structure looks like. We just know that everyone's doing it a little bit different right now. So I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is just one way to look at it. I know that every project probably has some form of tooling and automation. I've put those inside a bin directory. You could call it scripts. You could call it whatever you want. There's a doc folder. It's got some documentation in it, surprisingly. There's a lib folder. That's where I'm suggesting you put your scripts and automation. There's a test folder that comes pre-built with QUnit all set up. There's a temp folder, which we're going to pretend doesn't exist. And there's a www folder. And this is something that's common in every PhoneGap project. PhoneGap's web code, so www makes sense to us. So that's cool. I'm going to run make create, and so this generates native projects into my temp directory. That actually may have completed. Yeah. So if I look at my temp directory now, I've got projects pre-built for Android, iOS, and WebOS. I can tell you right now that the WebOS stuff is broken, and that this is really beta. This is like stuff I've been working on very recently. So, you know, watch out. You might get cut. It's bleeding edge, whatever. We'll be adding more to each of these with time. So that's cool. I just made a bunch of projects. I probably want to kick up some emulators. So let's do that. There's one. There's my iOS sim. That's really regrettable. I can't see it. What? Fucking bears and shit. All right, well. So this command is going to go off and compile everything that's in my www folder against everything that's in the temp folder. Launch it inside of the emulators. Given my resolution, we might not be able to see this awesome demo. Which is kind of shitty. Oh. So I successfully built for Android. I'm going to have to search for it to find it. Because I can't see the other half of this emulator. But there it is. And so this just comes with like a vanilla PhoneGap application. Yeah, that's actually accurate. Android does work like this. I wish I was joking. Sweet. A vanilla PhoneGap application. Were my iOS simulator somewhere in the realm of my ability to see it, we would see the exact same app. And so that's pretty sweet. We just went from doing absolutely nothing to building 2 platforms in like 5 minutes. So that's super useful. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here that's worth checking out. And this is all in your build chain. But if we look inside the bin directory, I've created a whole bunch of shell scripts. And yeah, they're shell scripts for doing all the things that you have to do while you're building these things. They're individually worth checking out. So like building, creating a new project. Debug is actually just doing a build that interpolates some useful stuff while you're running. Emulate just kicks up emulators. Logging kicks up loggers that log to standard output. There is prototype work going on for plugin, and there's test, which will copy stuff out of your test folder and into your app. So everything that you need to do, or maybe you don't need to do, all in one place, all with the same nomenclature, all consistent, which is kind of nice. And so that's a brand new project, and it's super beta, but I do recommend checking it out. We have another project that takes these concepts and brings it to the web. It's called build.phonegap.com, so if you don't want to put up with installing all this bullshit yourself, we'll do it for you. You push up your index HTML, we'll send back binaries for every platform. And so that's what I got for you guys. Let's drink some beer.